And we're starting to record. And we will see how we are looking momentarily. Hope everybody out there can receive this. As you see on your screen, this is what we always get. Something went wrong because they don't like us knowing what's going on.
There it is. That something went wrong.
Yeah, well, it's because they don't like us on YT. Because, the reptilian controllers don't like being called out. No, they don't. So, we want to thank you guys for joining us. We got
Ray 1. He's number 1.
Ray's in the house.
Yes.
Let us jump over and show a little Patreon here.
Yes. Hi. Hi, guys. Hi, Ray. Hi, Jenny. Good day. Happy day to you. Happy day. Love the hearts. We got 24 watching. It does help if you guys drop in and say a quick hello. It does help with the algorithms. It kind of tells them, okay, other people are interested. So anything you can do, a thumbs up or a comment. Hi, Inspire Me, Andy Strings. Great to see you guys. Great to see you. Mark, hello. Benzomatic, hello. Awesome. Julia, hello. Great to see you. Aw, what a nice, I already feel the love in the room. This is great. This is why I love coming on live, is because we can get the energy condensed all at once. Yeah, and Dee, hello. Neil, great to see you guys. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for dropping a note. That definitely helps. And yeah, we love all you guys. We love having the room full of people with good energy, because we know that makes a difference in the world. Miss Cindy Murphy, good morning to you too. Thanks for, I sent you a little note, dropped you a note. I'm glad you got it. Yep. If I think of it, I drop people notes and say, hey, we're going live, so that's always nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we couldn't do it without you guys. Amanda, good morning.
There's KK.
KK in the house. Good to see you. And KK's up in that Pacific Northwest with all the bumbling, and hopefully not too many people stumbling.
I know. How's that feeling there, KK? Is the energy wonky, or is it tolerable? Are you on edge? You sleepy? It just seems like, there's just like with our feelings and our emotions and things that are going on in our lives, that energy is bubbling to the top. And it seems like that area is being kind of pointed out right now. And I was telling Mike, I feel these things sometimes, and it's really kind of rare when I feel that something major could happen. And I was feeling that yesterday. And then I'm also feeling with the sun, and we're going to get into this with the sun. If the sun continues on, I am a little bit concerned about that area. So we're just keeping an eye on it. Hi, Julia, K-Heads. Hi, guys. Brian, Robbie. Hi, guys. Julia, Amanda. Great to see you guys. Thanks for dropping a note. It always helps with the algorithms. If they see you're actually here and you leave a note, makes it harder for them to, fudge the numbers on us. And it really helps, you guys. Anything you can do is helpful to keep us going.
Absolutely. So as we look over at the latest space weather news, you see geomagnetic storming persisted on Monday, maximum KP of 7. G3, strong storm. And so, this maybe has caught some by surprise, how this has stayed elevated above 5 for such a prolonged period of time. And more than likely, KP4 to, basically around 3 is to be expected today, as it should start to taper off, but yet, what's really going to happen? And you have M-class flare, as you can see here, a small M-class flare that went off, but everything affects us so much more at this point in time. as Cindy was saying, what the sun is doing is something you can take advantage of from a spiritual point of view. If you are a practitioner of Qigong, meditation, yoga, consciously taking in the energy from the sun, breathe it into your body with the inhale, see your aura get brighter, and see yourself surrounded, if you like, in a crystalline circle of pure brilliant light, or you could view it as magenta if you want to pick up your frequency, or if you're suffering from any sort of ailments, you might want to visualize it as a crystalline green color. A sky blue color will help to bring you relief from pain. Each color is its own unique frequency. That is definitely something we should all understand, as this whole creation, this whole reality we have is simply for consciousness to go and explore, and to learn and to grow and to share.
You know, while you're doing this, I'm going to be running a pattern. So if you guys want to take deep breaths, you'll probably feel it too. I just think it's a good idea. We should run a little energy work while we're all together. So,
okay. So Cindy's going to go and grab a dinger. As I look outside, what do I see? A blanket of gray. So it's aluminum and barium skies. And with the sun doing what it's doing, this is why they're spraying so much. Multi-purpose for the spraying. As I saw that Louisiana was also putting into effect a law banning geomodification. And yet, is it going to matter? Well, the reality is it's not a human operation. Yeah, there's humans carrying it out, but even if the humans stop carrying it out, it still would probably go on.
Mm-hmm. It would, and we have a few more people saying hello. Hello, Diana. William, great to see you here. Julio, Elena. Oh, you guys. Oh, good old JW. Happy Tuesday. Can you add a Ko-Fi link? Oh, yeah, sure. I think we can. Let me work on that.
Absolutely. Ko-Fi is a wonderful organization, really a small little thing in reality. And this is our Ko-Fi, which I could probably do that. I could probably, oh no, so something went wrong on YouTube, which won't let me do it there.
I think I can.
Yeah, again, we run into a lot of interference because we want to pull the frequency up. Humans, unfortunately, most humans don't understand the situation on planet Earth. Although I do know there are some of you in chat that absolutely do understand the bigger picture and are rooting. We're all rooting for Team Humanity to be free from the oppression that's unfortunately it's found itself under for thousands of years. Going back to the Younger Dryas event, again, I mean, I could talk about the Younger Dryas event every day as I meditate on it on a regular basis to try to bring clarity. And the more I meditate on it, the more I realize, that was really that was when the war really came home here on planet Earth. And yet, most just go along not having a clue. It makes you wonder, do the animals in the zoo understand that they're in the zoo? I think they do if they're wild caught, but what about when they're born into captivity? And that's all they know.
Then there's that. I saw a really interesting, thank you, KK. Thank you guys all for all of your support and everything. It all counts. It all makes, a great difference. But, I saw this, video about just fleas, and they put them in a jar, and they were baby fleas, and they put the lid on the jar for 3 days, and the little fleas, they jumped up and down in the jar, and then they took the lid off the jar, and the baby fleas, I guess now adults after 3 days, they're still jumping up. If they can they won't go any higher than the lid on the jar, even though they can. And I think that's what they've done with humanity. It's like we are conditioned to only have X surroundings and believe we can do certain things, and that's it. And there's some of us that are pushing the boundaries and trying new things and learning new things and passing it on to others. And no, they don't like that. They don't like that. It makes it very difficult for the family to grow.
Yes, absolutely it does. But, you know, the sun is the one that's going to have the ultimate say, and it's going to end up freeing us. At least those that really truly want to be organic and not assimilated into the collective AI Borg that is well underway. Again, it's about using humanity is really why the system that we have is in place as an energy resource, as a commodity. We talk about trading commodities. We talk about, different systems of exchange. Interesting, I was just getting the flashing feeling of power going out that hit me all of a sudden as I'm looking here at the Pacific Northwest. This is the last month, so when you are looking at this map, take into account this is the last month. I'll show you the last week as well, but 844 quakes out of 9,199 quakes mapped by the USGS in a 30-day period all across the globe. This feels like a significant uptick, as you can see. What's really catching my eye is Idaho right here, northeast of Boise. Wow, there's quite a little swarm going there. And, again, I'm going to bring this down so you can see 7 days now. And everything is moving real slow, technically. So this is the last week, as you could see. Still a good amount of activity. And, of course, we have Yellowstone, which is a super volcano. But there's other super volcanoes, too. And there's other volcanoes that are more likely to go, as we had gotten from the guides, and they've been pretty consistent that they do not expect that super volcanic explosion coming out of Yellowstone in the foreseeable future. But yeah, volcanic activity in the Pacific Northwest is probably likely, and it seems to be increasing as we go. So 63 quakes in the last week. And if we look at the 1 day, we had 33 in this one little zone here. 33 quakes in this one little zone, and some of them fairly significant, like around 4, as you can see. So, what really makes me take note is the fact that when I mentioned this to Cindy, she immediately picked up that this is something to watch, and I'll let her tell you, but she was just saying that if the sun keeps blessing us with the energy it's blessing us, it just might end up triggering something.
I love how Mike put that, and thank you so much. JW said Ko-Fi donation made. Thank you very much. Much appreciated, you guys. Anything, all the support helps. And yes, I am feeling, and I don't feel this very often, it's a concern, and I was feeling it yesterday afternoon. If the sun keeps blessing us, I like how Mike put that, because we do need to be careful with our words. It is a blessing. This energy that we're getting, I was going to do an acclamation meditation on Patreon about the sun, because it definitely is also helping our energy bodies. If we can grasp it and hold on to it, then that is going to benefit us and help our immune system and bring us, ever so higher into just a better place. So I was hoping to do that acclamation, but at the same time, it's a concern. I feel it's a little bit raw and vulnerable, kind of like so many people are feeling lately, kind of raw and vulnerable. And if it gets, one too many sneezes, it might just kind of blow up. Just like a human, the earth, certain areas of her, she can feel raw and vulnerable and not like what's going on. But at the same time, it's part of evolution. It's part of change, and it's part of her cleansing herself in some way, shape, or form. So we're definitely keeping an eye on this. Lots of stuff going on right now.
Yeah, and I remember very much when Mount St. Helens went, it was 45 years ago this past May 18th. that went. And, we ended up, gosh, I forget if it was after Mount St. Helens or after the eruption of Pinatubo, but I remember it really affected the weather. And, it's really interesting, too, is when you look to the past, what do we see around the Younger Dryas? It was like we were coming out of a ice age and going into a warming period. Then all of a sudden it got way colder again. Now, of course, they create the science to give us logical explanations that we will go ahead and believe, because who's going to question the experts? But the reality is, as humans are blasted by this energy from the sun, more and more of your intuitions are becoming very accurate. Your psychic abilities, which are natural things, which have been artificially dampened, they're going to really kick on, and you're just going to know. It's that gnosis that the Gnostics were talking about. You know things. You just intuitively know things. We know remote viewing's very real. Again, the alphabet soups have been doing it for forever, as well as many others. And we can see for ourselves what's really going on here. But yeah, there was a period of cooling. And, June in the U.S. is supposed to be abnormally cool, according to at least a few meteorologists that have been popping up in the feed. Unexpectedly cool. Yeah, rapid changes because, again, things are not like we're told. And when St. Helens went in 1980, absolutely, that was a game changer. And it was very destructive and deadly, and it brought a lot of attention to the Pacific Northwest. I've always been drawn to the Pacific Northwest. As a kid, before I got out of high school, I used to think, well, before I go off to college, I'm going to go make a road trip and just camp all in the Pacific Northwest and go make a friend with a Bigfoot. That was anyway the plan.
Right. I'm looking at Xenomorphet talking with her hubby last night about the planets, and he randomly says, "You mean the sun with the crown of thorns?" And, the story of Jesus is the sun. It dies on December 25th. Yeah, I mean, so much of it is, it's a story to help us understand, and that gets misunderstood. And just that misunderstanding can really get people kind of at each other's throats, depending on what you believe. So I think it is good to look at all the things, whatever your belief system is. I enjoy looking at all of the different belief systems and how they do things and why they do things. For me, I look at it all in curiosity. It's like, well, I wonder why, what makes that tick, or, what makes this popular, or why did this, what's the true root of this story? What are they really trying to tell us? That's where I go instead of going into the belief system. But anyhow, yeah, I mean, this world is full of interesting things, and really watching this volcano, and it's an interesting event that we have going on.
Yeah, meanwhile, Etna, as we had talked about yesterday, it does erupt pretty regularly, but, again, people shouldn't be complacent, as it drives me crazy to watch, people like this right here. Let's all just go and wait for some, something to be hurled down on us again. It's just crazy, it's just like the people with the ships in Independence Day. They're greeting the ships till the beam of light comes and disintegrates them. You can't make it up, truly. But, I think a lot of people are sensing that this eruption of Etna is something different, signaling something different, like a new phase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it looks like they're quickly coming down off the mountain is what they're doing. So yeah, it also changing timelines, we're picking that up too, that there is some sort of timeline for a more harmonious the instability and the AI and the technology is all moving forward still, but how we experience it, I feel, is going to be a little different.
Oh, yeah. So again, watch to the beautiful island of Martinique in the Caribbean. And if Pele goes off, then, maybe take a little bit more precaution and get ready for some big, big changes. As you see, this headline from RT, volcano, the eruption causes panic. Dozens of tourists fled. Now, this does, again, erupt, but it's a little bit more active than before. Now, also, let's jump out a little bit and scoot over, because you're not going to see too much info over here. But if you remember, Santorini and that area has been very active. We're still getting quakes. This was a 5.8 over in Turkey, and over here you have a 4.9 over in Greece. CSEM, I could bring it up. It's going to show more of the European quakes. They always do show a lot more, as they are a European organization. But you do have a lot more activity, as you can see, over in this general area. And then we have Italy here. So what we have is the conditions going where it feels like something big is coming. I mean, it just feels like something really big is coming, which shouldn't be surprising, because we are totally out of the Kali Yuga. We're out of that dark age. We're in a bronze age. The bronze age is not a golden age, and I think a lot of people are expecting us to go to just, literal manifest heaven on earth. It starts next Monday. That's not going to happen. This takes a long period of time. There's a big transition period to go through. And whenever we get a little bit cynical when we see, the videos that come through that are very fluffy, like, don't worry, the battle is already over. White hats took over. And, everything's going to be perfect starting whenever, in a week, a month. No, we have a long period of time to go through changes. Those changes are going to keep escalating. What is over is the understanding that we have in the Kali Yuga. That's that, we have this crazy idea that we're all that exists in all of this universe, and that there's no other life forms but us and maybe angels and demons and a god in the cloud. Yeah, that goes bye-bye as we realize that there's, inner earth beings, there's beings living under the oceans, there's many different extraterrestrials, there's interdimensional beings. The fact that, ultimately all the life that you see on the planet was brought here in a cosmic, Noah's Ark, to reseed a planet that was destroyed by war.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of a mess, and things are being revealed. Things are being uncovered, and mostly I feel they're being uncovered because they cannot keep the truth from us, because we're going through an awakening. We're starting to see past the veil. So many people know that the mainstream is just, at this point, it's simply entertainment. And right now, to me, it's about keeping yourself grounded and keeping yourself, working through your traumas, dealing with the things in your life that are holding you back, so that you can expand to a very high degree. I think expansion is something that can be very, very painful, especially in this 3D world when we're all, the empaths are very emotional. So if you're in a world and you're going to a job that you don't like, you're dealing with a relationship that is uncomfortable and not productive, if you're an empath and you're dealing with that can really cause some health problems. And sometimes we have to step back and do what it takes to remedy that situation, just because it's so hard on us and it can pull our frequency down. And it takes so much effort, to keep where we're at anyway. You don't need any help pulling it down. So it's kind of like sort of identifying all those things that feel like a thorn in your side and see what you can do to bring harmony to that situation. Maybe there's something you need to learn. It's not even about running away from it. Sometimes it's more about standing square, standing with your feet just grounded and looking at square in the eyes and saying, okay, what do you need to teach me? And then be open to learning that lesson.
Absolutely. And Talisha says, I keep hearing about a split to 5D, but some may get left behind. To our understanding, like 5D is not embodied in a body like this. So I do think, like, for instance, I've shared when my mom died of cancer at 90 back in 2020, right at the very beginning, January 2020, very beginning of the plague upon the land. She was in 4D for about 2 years, 2 to 3 years. I try to remember, I think it was in June. So about 2.5 years. It took her to decide whether or not she was going to incarnate again and take a physical body. But then she decided not to, and she went up into a 5D existence. And now my mom in 5D is so different than my mom that exists in 3 and 4D. A totally different being, a much more expansive, powerful being, a very, very different state of being. I do think that when we leave the body, we will be able to go up to 5D. And I do think really what the system's trying to do is trying to bog people down in so many energetic ways to keep them from ascending to 5D. But for our understanding, it's not embodied per se. You could have a 5D consciousness, but as far as literally being in 5D, then you're basically operating in more of an energy body state. Again, we are multidimensional beings, so we are, operating on 5D in some aspects even now. But here we are embodied in a 3D body, in really a 4D embodied experience at this point in time. Again, it's up to the individual. I think the individual can shift your timeline much easier than the collective shifting. The collective shifts through massive realizations and understandings, which really that's what the sun's doing now. And that's, bringing about amazing changes in perception. And again, bringing online a lot of our latent abilities, which were literally shut off intentionally through many different ways.
Mm-hmm. We're here to gather energy. And when we gather this energy, we are able to take that to the other dimensions. It does give us the ability to go different places, more places. But usually when someone leaves their body here on Earth and they pass away and they're doing something different, it takes a moment for the energy to unravel. It takes a moment for this 3D experience to be absorbed and understood and looked at and diagnosed, and it takes a moment for the energy to be repatterned again so that you can see what you're doing. So there is, I don't like using the word time in these other dimensions because there is no time, but there is what happens A, B, C, and D. Usually at the same time, it's totally customizable. It's whatever you need. That was when I was out of my body. I didn't realize I didn't have my body. So it's not like I was lacking me at all. I was still here, but I was there. It's just the information is different because I was getting so much information so fast from the sun, at the speed of light. It's very difficult for me to really understand it all because it was more like giving my DNA information. So you have to go back through and unpack that.
Absolutely. And, the other question was, how about orbs? Well, sometimes when people see those very, very bright, kind of like rotating plasma beings, those can be 5D. But most orbs that you're going to see are 4D, and 3D, 4D are really, they're each a side of the same coin, so to speak. And, most of our our existence while we're embodied here in this time period is embodied in the 3D. When you're sleeping, you're out in the 4D. For the most part, I would say, again, you can't generalize everybody, because sometimes you have very, very interesting beings that are incarnating. And, as we had said before, you might have beings that are very, very high, deciding to jump into the body of a squirrel, of a bird, of a deer, and even, maybe even your dog or your kitty cat at times, to bring a little guidance and love to an individual that's incarnated here. Studies suggest Africa is being torn apart by a super plume of hot rock from deep within the earth. Again, this is part of the change. Now, what they say is this is going to take millions of years. The reality is, again, all the timelines are way off. These changes can happen very, very rapidly. Again, it's not what the science tells us. And yeah, the earth is going to, after it goes through this transition period, it will look different. It will restructure itself. It is going to have to cleanse itself from so much of what the system has done to it. Because again, the system that's in place acts like a raging infection on the planet, in the body of the planet. And so, it's very irritating to the earth. In fact, it's being irritated intentionally. The earth is being irritated intentionally for the express purpose of creating more disruptions and more things like volcanic activities and earthquakes and storms. And this is part of the technology. I mean, that realization hit me as a teenager, reading the Bible, and again, the gods are the ones that send these plagues and storms upon humans. And then when you read the Greek mythologies, it's the Greek gods that are doing that. The humans are a toy thing to the Greek gods. And then when we realize the bigger picture, that all these gods are nothing but non-terrestrials, they're not Homo sapiens sapiens. Some of them are inner earth beings and some are interdimensional. Then it starts to become a little bit clearer.
Yeah, I think that's important to keep in mind, that there's so many different beings that are around us. And right now we're in a little bit of a cocoon. We are kind of, we're growing up, we're like babies in a womb. Our consciousness is evolving. And right now is this short little span of time that we are allowed just to be, and to use this for our spiritual growth.
Yeah, when we look to the planet, Google Earth is better, but it might bog down. But when you think about all the areas across the planet, like, here we have, the Sahara Desert. This is all desert. That's all desert, all desert through so many different areas, right? Afghanistan's almost entirely desert, and in the western part of China too. These are the scars of war for the most part. I think, again, they'll explain it to us as these cycles that happen, naturally. It's all just natural. No, these are the scars of war. This is the planet and the beings that lived on these areas that unfortunately, had to live through this. Their calls out to us still echo throughout time, and there are people that can hear that. I've shared that with you driving through Arizona. Cindy will tell you, I had to stop driving because I was getting so dizzy and nauseous, because I'm getting these impressions of death coming from above so quickly, so suddenly, to the people that didn't even see what was coming, that it was just terrifying, truly.
It is. I mean, we're in a time where there's a lot of rapid change, and there's a lot of things going on that, I mean, it's hard enough to be here. The least we could do is be kind to each other. I mean, just be kind, be nice. And it's not hard to do. We're lacking that kindness. I mean, look at all these people that have lost their livelihood, and what we are trying to do is send out prayers to them. So I think it is good to be supportive of one another.
Absolutely. Crispy's in the house. He's up in Vancouver. Have you noticed any quakes, Chris? Does it seem like there's any activity? Do you sense anything going up that way? I'd be curious. KK is in Washington, and she's in the greater Seattle area. Greater, she's off in the woods. But again, you could sense it when things are coming, when you root yourself into the earth. This is the thing that we have been cut off from is the earth more than anything, cut off from our mother. So it's like we're orphaned kids in so many ways, wandering about. And that really is the reality, as you see more than 200 people dead, 500 missing in Nigeria, flood disaster, torrential downpours there. Well, again, we've talked so many times about China and the U.S. bragging that they're going to own the weather, so you have to wonder which one of those entities did it. Well, ultimately, it's the system itself. Yeah, there are natural cycles. Absolutely, there are natural cycles, and perhaps none more powerful than the cycle of the Yugas, which also, when that comes about and we leave the Kali Yuga, then we do actually get our get-out-of-jail-free card, if we so choose. Now, the system wants you to say, no, I don't want to get out of jail free. I want to stay in the system, and that sounds absolutely crazy, but the reality is, perhaps the majority of people will actually choose that. Again, it is a choice.
Thank you so much, Frankie. The question, she's 16 and so mean to me. Someone's being mean to you. Well, without more context, it's difficult, but usually if I have to, I don't know exactly who you're talking about, but sometimes if I have to, if someone is pulling me down, maybe, in my old age, I have less patience. So if I have to, I just cut them off. I don't have time. This planet is a blessing. I want to enjoy as much of it as I can. I want to enjoy the experiences with you guys. I want to enjoy every moment. And sure, sometimes there's difficult moments that we have to get through. But, is it for growth, or is it just pulling you down? So I think that we have to make that decision. And thank you, Frankie.
Yes, and hello, Stefan, and hello, Oneness. Good to see you as always. When we look to some of the, again, weather-related headlines over here, you can see from the watchers, Spain records highest May temperature in 75 years, yet we do also have records the other way going. Oh, man. Yeah, the amount of different meteors, or what they call meteors, you see bright green meteor, Aurora Australis, seen over Sydney skies. Now, the aurora, again, being seen in places that it's not usually seen. This is the signs, this is part of the signs in the sky that the Bible gives, but that's, again, a sign of the times and the changing of the yugas. And even the Bible says, these are signs of the new age, and then yet people are terrified. Oh, you're a new ager. Well, everything was infiltrated by the system. The new age movement was infiltrated by the system. The hippie movement was infiltrated by the system. Turns out, unfortunately, our own governments are the biggest drug dealers on the planet. People had mentioned, about increasing your abilities. How do you increase your abilities that are being blessed with? We're being blessed with because of the sun. Well, you have to be clean and sober. That's the bottom line. And again, this world will make it so that a lot of people won't want to be clean and sober. Yet we know many people that have gone through, and people in this very chat room that have gone through their own personal crises, emotional and healing crises, and have risen above to all new heights and are soaring right now. So, Cindy and I are on our second 2-day fast of the last 14 days. So we did a 2-day fast last Monday, Tuesday, and then another 2-day fast Sunday into Monday, and we still haven't eaten yet at this point. But that's how you do it, because when you allow your body to rest, and it's right there in the Bible, what does Jesus do when he's getting ready for everything? He's getting ready for the big test. He fasts. You don't have to fast 40 days, but if you can fast 3 days, you'll reset your entire immune system. And even after 24 hours, you can have tremendous benefits from fasting that will increase your ability to perceive and think clearly.
It can be a little bit tricky, so I really suggest everyone look. We just did a video yesterday. You can go see it, but look up certain YouTube channels we suggested. They have a ton of information about how to fast safely. Women are different than men, so women are better fasting on a certain schedule. And also, depending on your health, you may need to do something different when you do your fast. I have to be slightly different than Mike for my body to keep up, and for me to have benefits, so I'm not like tearing my body down. Because yes, the body does eat itself to a degree, and it's going to wipe out all the bad stuff first. But then it gets to a point where if you're not strong enough, it could start, eating into your muscle. And you don't want that. You definitely don't want that. So just being careful and checking out what kind of body type do you have. So do you suppose you can fast while adding spirulina? Sure. I think spirulina would do fine. I think with you, Diana, you probably have a really good sense and intuition, and just use your intuition. And I would think that would be fine. For me, that's something that I would do. Mike can pretty much go hard fast with just water or tea, black coffee. I need to do something. Yes, same thing. Metabolism goes really fast. I need to do something. But I still definitely have the benefits of a solid fast. That's what I see with my own body. So it's me having a conversation saying, what are you ready for? Because years ago when I was so sick, I couldn't fast. I just couldn't do it. My body had to have food like every 2 hours. I was like a little baby, and I needed the nutrients. Whatever was going through my blood was definitely just taking me, and I would step on the scale. I would have a meal, step on the scale, and be 3 pounds lighter. And it was really disturbing. It was the most disturbing thing that I had ever gone through. But now, 3 years later, I'm strong enough. I can do a pretty solid fast, but still I adjust as needed.
Well, Cindy is, both of us have had wild weight swings.
Yeah.
We really have.
Yeah. It's like something's attacking his throat chakra. He has good stuff to say. So they do that from time. He's going to grab a drink and he'll be right back. But yeah, we definitely swing. Like it's really kind of frighteningly easy for me to lose 5 or 6 pounds. So I watch that, and I try not to let that happen, because I don't want to dig it into my muscle. I need that muscle. We all need the muscle. That helps as women get older. You definitely want that muscle to hold in those estrogens. So we got to keep an eye on that and just do what our body needs. And that takes time.
So Cindy had taken a trip to Monument Valley, and it changed her life, as she had shared the story of her walk-in. Which means what happened was she went to Monument Valley, and it was the time period where the last shaman had died there. And the last shaman literally entered Cindy's body and has been a guide for her. And so some of the abilities that she has now are past life, and they've come through. Some of them are the last shaman that is the spirit guide with her in this journey. When she made that journey out there, that was 2019, 2018. That was 2018 that you made the journey to Monument Valley, which is a real sacred place. She ended up losing like 60 pounds. I mean, a tremendous amount of weight. Something happened to her, and it just changed her. And no more, no more junk food, no more anything that's unhealthy. And when I met her, she was a workout machine. It was like, we were in our place in North Carolina, and she's hiking up and down this steep mountain like time after time after time, because she's got so much energy. And for the longest amount of time, she was just really eating seeds and nuts. So again, to get back to the other question about spirulina, I think it's like when you're at a certain base point. If you are pretty clear, and you've detoxed a good amount, then I think there's many different ways that will balance you, and you could work with. So it's up to the individual for years. And I'm going to read Robbie's in a second. For many, many years, and the biggest part of my life, really, I fasted 5 days each month, usually towards the end of the month, but it was a juice fast. So what I tried to do was really alkalize my body, mostly with cucumber and celery juices, with lemon, fresh ginger, and sometimes I would add a half of an apple, sometimes I wouldn't, depending on what I was feeling, as far as like wanting to stay in ketosis, not wanting to spike insulin. And this has always been part of my life going back to 12 years old. I think I did my first fast, if I remember right, at 12 years old. But I was a fat kid that was picked on, and then became a workout fanatic and started taking martial arts, and it just never stopped. And it was really trauma that pushed me onto that path, because I was getting picked on by a gang of kids, from 10 to 12 years old. But it turns out to be a blessing, because it's probably ended up in the long term made me a lot healthier.
Mm-hmm. And what about Robbie there? I'm not sure what he's referring to.
I'm not sure either. So.
Yeah, do you have a not sure about that, Robbie. We'll have to definitely get back to you. But yeah, I mean, the body definitely makes a lot of changes when we go through these
I'm not
times.
With all the different pharmaceuticals, or OTCs. I think, again, it's up to the individual, really. So I think, you could benefit from just having some pumpkin seeds and maybe some fresh juice. Again, I look at the aspect of, you don't want to make the pancreas work. You don't want to spike the insulin. You don't want to take yourself out of ketosis, because we want to get rid of the fat, the body fat. Not for ego's sake, but because the fat stores the toxins. So, the more fat stores we have in the body, the more we have toxins, residing in the body that ultimately should get purged.
And we need the good fats for the hormones too. So, it's definitely the good fats that we want to hang on to, and we want to feed the body, and for the brain as well. You reach a certain age, and you got to start taking care of everything, and everything you put in your body needs to be beneficial to it. I went through a time where, whatever was great. I could eat whatever and still not have a problem, but boy, oh boy, did that come to a stop.
Well, congrats, Rasta. Rasta was almost 300 pounds in 5th grade. Wow. And now about 195. That's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. So this is something that we're seeing more and more of. Newly discovered ghost lineage linked to ancient mystery population in Tibet. DNA study finds study of more than 100 genomes for people who lived in ancient China has unmasked a ghost in their midst. And it's talking about people that shouldn't be there. This is, I think this is the 3rd or 4th article I've read in the last couple days where they're finding this, not just China. The other one was in South America, where they're finding DNA lineage that doesn't fit. And, in fact, when you remember back to those elongated skulls, you find them in Peru, Paracas in particularly, Bolivia too, South America. You find them in the Black Sea area. There's no way people from Peru and Bolivia are going to migrate in the old world, given the old history that we had, to the Black Sea or vice versa. The Black Sea is where Ukraine is, and Turkey down below, and you have Georgia and these other nations. That doesn't make any sense given, what the history is. No, people were able to get around because people could fly. I mean, we had beings here with us that were able to fly from one area to the other. In fact, again, when you look to the Bible and, you see Enoch and Elijah, you got to think, oh, they weren't here anymore. Yeah, God took them for a ride, didn't bring them back.
Well, that was one of my discoveries, when I was going through my awakening. I was learning things. Ezekiel's wheel, there's just no denying how much technology there was in the Bible. And I don't even think a human wrote the Bible. I do think it was written by a different form of technology. It's just kind of wild when you start to look at it and you really, really let things sink in for a moment. It just kind of alters your view of things, and you can't really see it any differently after you see it through that perspective of technology, for me.
Yes, yes. And, again, spicing things up, like that sounds really good. Sheena's Permaculture Paradise Project is talking about cowboy coffee. Yeah, I have done that too with coconut oil in there, but you can also add like cardamom. I love cardamom. Absolutely love cardamom. And now it's making me think about making a chia. Yeah, she's hungry. Well, we haven't eaten in 2 days. Yeah, like using chia, you can make a chia pudding. You could put chia in yogurt. Cindy makes yogurt from scratch. You could flavor that yogurt with things like cinnamon, nutmeg, and cardamom, just to, again, bring up a point. But this about finding genomes where we don't think they would belong. What they're telling us now is they're just starting to give us. They don't come straight out and say, oh yeah, they picked up a ride because either they had the technology to go from one area thousands off of a continent. Or, again, there were ETs here or beings here that had a lot more technology. They're not going that far yet, but they're getting us used to understanding that the history we're given is not accurate. And there's been many other humanoid species here. When you're looking for that missing paternal DNA, it's, the stories tell us it's the Anunnaki. Again, those that come from the sky. Now, this article is talking about radioactive iodine-131 fallout blanketed nearly the entire United States, now they say in government nuclear tests. We've covered that the Galactic Federation won't allow a nuclear holocaust on the planet. Otherwise, it probably would happen again. And in the Younger Dryas, something similar to that happened. The technologies used were absolutely atrocious. And here you see them showing Indian Springs area, southern Nevada, and the fallout that went all over the place. Now, Cindy knows people that were exposed. We know people that were exposed to fallout. But again, even the nuclear tests that they say they had, we don't necessarily believe that was the accurate perception of what really happened. But when you look to what's in the sky today, and you realize there's a lot of different technologies out there that can spread nuclear fallout. In fact, the strange clouds have been tested, and they've been found to have substances that at times can carry nuclear or do carry nuclear fallout. Think about all the thyroid disease around the place. I mean, in the United States, thyroid disease is so prevalent. It seems like at least half of the females seem to have some sort of thyroid dysfunction. Yeah, absolutely. Nevada, New York, Montana, Mississippi, all of these are blanketed. Now, was it the official story? In a way, I don't think it matters. It's obvious that we've been blanketed with toxins. We've been blanketed with radioactive fallout. How it was delivered may not be exactly what they tell us.
Yeah, I think it's the delivery of it. So, I mean, these are all things that whatever the mainstream says, it's not true. But I do believe that it's very toxic, and they, do things to hurt us, and especially going after that thyroid, because the thyroid is really, the muscle of the rest of the body and your hormones.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that they've let this go. I know a lot of people are having trouble in the chat. The reality is, again, we have too much of the actual truth. and the system doesn't like it coming out. But there's too many people that know the truth and are sharing the truth at this point in time. This also could be something related to volcanic activity, or it could be related to technology being used, again, off the shores of California. 14th whale washed up in the Bay Area this year. That's a real sad thing to happen. So we send our prayers and best intentions out there to all the creatures that are living in the ocean that are also falling prey to the dark system.
Well, we just did a video the other day, too. That giant seal came in to take a walk across town and walk back. And it was very odd and picking up that he was trying to tell people something. He was trying to warn people, is what he was trying to do.
Yeah, that giant walrus seal or whatever they call it. Man, elephant, walrus, elephant seal.
2 cows.
And you want to talk about another way that somebody could just kind of give you a little truth where maybe it won't shock you too much later when it really comes out. Trump amplifies another outlandish conspiracy theory. Biden is a robotic clone. Trump reposted another user's false claim that the former president had been executed in 2020, replaced with a robotic clone. Yeah. Well, the reality is, you'd have to be just very, very unobservant to not realize that different Bidens were different heights, sometimes 4 or 5 inches, not even close. They had different earlobes, different eyebrows, different shaped heads. Come on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty obvious that they're all very, very different, and they have been. So, we're running out of conspiracy theories, guys. We're running out.
Yeah, and a conspiracy is really what's been going on across the planet as far as keeping the truth away from humans. We have a Patreon update that we'll be doing after today with some information that came through regarding the system, regarding some big events that are perhaps in the very near future, and regarding the galactic treaty situation. And there's a lot more that goes on that doesn't meet the eye. Again, nature is your friend. Be careful and cautious.
Definitely be careful.
And send out those positive, loving vibes, and they'll feel it, and they will understand, because again, they're part of this biosphere, and the mother has nothing but love for us, and we have again been cut off from the mother. That's why there is really very little to no talk of the divine feminine in the patriarchal fundamentalist religions, unfortunately.
Indeed.
And so, guys, thank you for joining us this morning again. We couldn't do it without you guys. We look forward to seeing you again. Now, tomorrow is Wednesday, right?
Yeah, tomorrow's Wednesday.
Okay, so tomorrow we'll shoot for the same time-ish. And then Thursday we'll be on at noon Central with R. Wayne Steiger on his channel. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.